In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your fuel pump assembly. That's the sending unit with the bucket, fuel pump, everything. Let's get started. The reason we're here is because the fuel pump is actually accessed from underneath the back seat, and to get to it, you have to pull the back seat up, the bottom cushion at least, so reach underneath and you got to pull really hard on it. It'll unclip. Do this on both sides. There we go. You got to pull really hard on this. Of course, the seat belt's through the back seat. And remove this. All right, well, with all the debris out of the way, let's open up this cap here, 4 10mm bolts or screws, and that should give us access to the fuel pump. Now I'm using an electric tool now. However, as soon as I open that fuel pump or the cap around it, I will not be using any more electric tools because there is a possibility for them to make sparks. And well, I don't need to explain what would happen after that. I'm gonna use a plastic pry tool and try to get this cap out of the way. It's usually just glued down with a gasket. Okay, now this won't go too far, but usually you can move it enough to reach the connector for the fuel pump and disconnect it. A lot of times this is stuck on here due to buildup of debris, so we'll have to work it back and forth. I'm gonna try grabbing it with some pliers. Okay, I think I got it. Yep. All right, so now we can set this whole thing aside. We have a good view here. I'm gonna get the vacuum again, vacuum all this up. Do not vacuum this if you've already opened up the fuel lines or the fuel tank, because the vacuum is an electric motor, and like I mentioned before, they don't really go together with fuel fumes. So I still have everything sealed up. I have no leaks here. I'm going to vacuum it, and then again, if you have already opened this and you need to clean it, just use compressed air and blow it out of the way. All right, now I'm going to disconnect these fuel lines first to get this yellow clip out for the small line. You just have to spread the end of it and push it up and out at the same time. There we go. Let's remove this thing completely. All right, now take this fuel line out, set that aside like that. Let's unclip the big one. To unclip this one, it's the same concept, except the clip is much larger. So just press out. Just like that. And now we should be able to disconnect this. There we go. Pull this aside, and now I'm going to have to twist this lock ring out. So I'm just going to take flat pry bar that I have and very gently tap it counterclockwise to unscrew it. So here's the situation. I have been trying to release this locking ring and it is not coming off. Now this issue is very rare because this is a plastic ring. It should not be seized on like this. I was bending the top of the tank trying to twist this off, hammering it. If I go any harder, it's just gonna damage it and break it. So you should not be running into this issue. Like I said, it's not a common thing. If for some reason you do, you're gonna have to drop the tank, and that way you get a lot more space to work with. However, what I will do is I'm going to show you footage from a different vehicle that looks exactly the same. It just won't have this hose on it. But other than that, it is the same exact pump. It's the same exact setup here, same connector, same pressure line. It just won't have this vent tube here. And once I show you how to reinstall that one, we'll come back to this and I'll show you how to reconnect it correctly. With this line out of the way, I have a special tool here, but you don't need this necessarily. What you can do is just use a screwdriver or a pry bar and hammer this ring counterclockwise to loosen it up. Now I'm going to go counterclockwise and try to break this free. Oh wow, alright. At this point, I'm going to use a pry bar and a hammer and just tap this ring counterclockwise to break it free. Be careful you don't want to crack it or break these little tabs, otherwise you'll have a hard time reinstalling it. Oh, there we go, it's moving a little bit. At this point, you'll notice that this tab needs to get lifted up and off of this locking retainer here, so hammer it a little bit and then lift it up and over. There we go. The next one is going to be this one right here. Now you want to just spin it the rest of the way until it fully detaches. Okay, the ring is off, fuel pump is out. There we go. This tank is full of gas, so I'm going to go slow. I don't want to spill any in the vehicle. I'm going to let it self-drain a little bit. It's not going to fully drain, but some will come out, so I'm just going to wait until it stops pouring out here. I do have a collection bucket that I can put this into as soon as it comes out. Make sure the float doesn't get caught. And in the collection bucket, here's your old fuel pump. At this point, remove the old gasket, and your new fuel pump should come with a brand new one. You want to install that to ensure a proper seal. Set the new fuel pump in. Make sure the float is going in the same direction, which was that way. That way also the connector and the line are in the same direction as well. So set this down. This has a little tab that needs to line up with that. So once you're in the general direction, like I mentioned before, you can line it up with that. And now take your locking ring and let's, well, lock it on. Start, when you thread this on, make sure the fuel pump stays in this slot there. So I'm actually going to hold it while I start on this ring, and you don't want to cross thread this because it's plastic. So once I find the first thread, I'm just gonna do it by hand, and I'm gonna keep going and going. Now it got snug, but this is not where you stop. You want to stop when this arrow lines up with, oh, it's hard to see, but there's an arrow right here on the fuel tank. I think you can kind of see it. Can you see that? So this arrow right here needs to line up with the arrow on the ring. So you need to keep going, and only then is it fully tightened. If that doesn't line up, then, well, it's not fully tightened. So I'm going to grab my special tool here. This will help me tighten it up a little bit better, as opposed to just using the pry bar and hammer method, which does work, but this one grabs onto two sides at once, so it's a little bit more grip. Right there is perfect. I know I broke this one, but that's okay. It's just one of the many. At this point, we can remove this cap. Actually, before I remove it, I'll blow off the debris. Okay, so we're back to our Corolla. Now, let's reconnect the vent tube here. Make sure that this red tab is pushed out all the way. Make sure this hose is bottomed out all the way, and then lock it in, push the tab in until it bottoms out. Reconnect your main feed line, pressure line, and lock it in with this yellow clip all the way down. Make sure everything is tight in here, and let's grab the cap with the connector, reconnect the fuel pump, make sure that clicks, set this back down, and let's put in the 4 mounting screws. Like I said earlier, I will not be using any electric tools at this point. right, let's put the back seat back. If you look closely, you'll see these two white retainers here. There's one on the passenger side and there's another one on the driver's side. These are the clips that the cushion needs to lock into once you set it down. Bring the cushion back. We'll have to make sure that the seatbelt buckles go through. The easiest way to do that is once you have it somewhat situated, just lift it up, and I won't be able to show you because it's underneath, but I'm just gonna reach for the seatbelt buckle. I'm gonna try and push it through from underneath and then grab it from up top. There we go. Of course, do that to both sides. Once you have the seat pretty much in position, make sure that those two tabs line up, and then the easiest way to do this is to just put your body weight on it. That's one, that's two, done. So there you have it. At this point, get in the driver's seat. We'll put the key in the ignition and we want to prime the fuel system. What that means is with the key in the ignition, turn it not one, but 2 clicks to the on position. Don't start the engine yet. If you listen carefully, you're probably going to hear the fuel pump humming. It won't come through on video because it's very quiet, but we'll do this a few times. And after you've done this a few times, you could go ahead and start the vehicle and it should run perfectly smooth for you. I'm not going to do it here because I'm in a closed garage, but assuming you're outside, turn it on, take it for a road test, and you should be good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.